Hey everybody, Mike Winkler here. This is part 2 in a series I'm working on why is voting so hard? And this gets a little into the tech weeds, right? So let me summarize this for you before we get dirty to say all of these places that you are afraid that voting can't be done securely is completely wrong, and I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so proving that. Voting is no different than banking or online ordering. It can be done well more than 99% securely. 99 with 5 nines or 6 nines, one error a year or less, is the norm. And even then, it's not that many errors. This can be done. It can be done really well. There's just huge efforts that have been made into scaring you to death, okay? So that's the summary, and let's kind of get into it. The first of the technologies I wanted to talk about is what we call blockchain, right? And blockchain is the core of cryptocurrency. And what I'm going to do as untech as possible on this. There is an indelible record that lives on the internet, and it is the core backend of every cryptocurrency you might like the name of. So the way that blockchain is built, you can't ever overwrite data. You can put a new entry in the log, but the data is permanent for all times and it can't be changed. So if we decide, and I like the idea of using 2 and 3 factor authentication, but let's stick with the basics of it first, that I go down to the fire station and I vote the same way we've always done it, and I flip a lever. The indelible record is going to say Mike Winkler walked down to the fire station Tuesday, 6:02 p.m., and a transaction occurred. What goes on in that transaction is fully encrypted between me and blockchain, and this is not data that even the blockchain administrator can get out of it, right? This is secret in that very crypto sort of way. You guys all probably remember the story about the guy who lost his crypto wallet and lost billions in cryptocurrency. This is very, very secure. Okay, so Mike goes down to the fire station, and I vote. And this is secure in absolute. And if we take something I have, like a password, and something I am, like my fingerprint, but we could also say your ID, right? And if we're talking about how to make this as easy as possible for people, you got your driver's license and your thumbprint, but bang, you have 2-factor authentication. There's this other factors that are significantly more under the covers that you don't even notice that you're doing. Like they can tell your device, they can tell your proximity, they can tell even your handwriting pattern if we get down to that. But sticking with this basics to say, okay, Mike went down to the fire station. He voted. We took his thumbprint. We took his photo ID, and that's him. We could take a picture too if we wanted to be particularly secure to see if it matched the ID. So that if there's ever a question later, did Mike vote? He did on Tuesday. Yes. Did Mike vote anywhere else? No. Mike has an utterly unique number assigned to his voting so that he could only have voted once or the system will reject him. Well, how do we know it was actually Mike and not an illegal alien from planet Zontar? I'm like, well, we have Mike's thumbprint, he had Mike's photo ID, and we took Mike's picture. That would be 3-factor ID, by the way. So that we know for sure that was him. And this is an indelible record. Someone's going to give you an argument immediately about Russian hackers. It's just plain untrue. It is so close to impossible to hack blockchain. And if you managed to, it would light up everybody's screen and say, hey man, there's someone trying to break blockchain. And even then, all the records would be indelible. You would just kind of mess up any further use. So it is nearly a perfect tech for voting. And let me expand a little bit here. So if we say Mike wants to vote at home on his computer or on his phone, you can have a factor of identification, and this is what Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook and all those guys do, is you have a unique number that lives on your mobile device or on your computer. And they say, yeah, that's Mike's computer. It's got his unique number. But let's get a face unlock or a thumbprint just to be sure. Okay, great. So I sit down at my computer and it pulls the unique number off the computer. It pulls the location off, what's called geotagging. So it knows where I am and it's completely reasonable for the county I live in. Okay, great. So that's another factor of ID. If you want to get completely crazy, we could do it like the I-9 people do it, that you hold up your driver's license for the picture. Sounds great. So we have 4 and 5 factors of ID, and the blockchain transaction will only allow this transaction. There's no way to do a buffer overflow or a rogue SQL command. There is very, very well locked down mechanisms for this. This, by the way, is quite similar to how Google does it with their self-driving cars. They double sign everything. It's quite amazing. But the technology is easy to say, you should be able to vote from the firehouse or from your mobile device or from your PC, so you don't need to do any of these complicated things. And if there's ever a question later on, did someone have a gun to Mike's head to make him vote for McCarthy? You can go back and look at the transaction and maybe call me and say, hey, Mike, does someone have a gun to your head and make you go vote for McCarthy? And I'm like, no, man, I just voted, and I'm not telling you who I voted for. So then the records are indelible forever, right? This is one of those things, like even if you had a nuclear war, the internet would survive. It would just get extremely slow. So the records are there for all times, and this is kind of important. So if McCarthy wins the election and it's 3 years from now and someone says something improper happened, you bring up the existing blockchain voting record, and we could say, Mike, did you vote in that? And I'm like, yeah, I voted in that. And Sarah, did you vote in that? Yeah, I voted in that. And you can track every individual person's vote to time and place. So it's not just indelible in the moment. It is indelible perpetually. So it's voting security forever. Now, this is not the only technology that can do this, right? We can look at the way, and once again, trying to stay out of the deep tech weeds, your favorite digital storefront or your favorite banking app. When I log on to my banking app with my bank, it wants my thumbprint, it does a face lock, it knows my mobile device, it knows the locations I could be logging in from, and it knows the pattern of my buying. It's really super smart. So that it can say, hey, Mike, you don't normally buy boat supplies. Is this okay? So this is all multi-factor authentication, right? It's an extremely advanced science. We've been using it for 30 years for our internet banking, for our buying and selling of things. And as I mentioned in the run-up video to this, you've never seen anyone, put an extra $1,000 in your account. The system is extremely mature. It doesn't make mistakes. But even if you didn't like blockchain for some technical reason, there's at least 4 other ways to do this. Okay, the reason I go through all this, and this is super important, it is secure. So close to completely secure. It is well more than 99.69% secure. It is much more secure than voting at the fire station, where all those lovely ladies from the League of Women Voters show up and make sure you're who you say you are, and you only vote once and all of that. That is significantly less secure than something like this. And what's great about it is if the New York Times, just picking someone, decides they want to audit the process, you can say, sure, New York Times, here's a full copy of the voting activity from that night. And maybe we're going to redact it a little bit so they can't call you up and say, Mike Wengler, did you vote for McCarthy? To say, oh, well, this many people voted from this many locations, and it can be trimmed down. Or you could literally give a full copy out. So those self-same women from the League of Women Voters that want to make all of this work can check the numbers, and if there's a question, and maybe they notice Sarah Smith, who always votes, didn't come out this year, and is she okay? All of this, the technology of it is, and I don't ever want to use a word like perfect, is so mature. Any idea that we cannot vote securely for a person, securely for process, or securely from any location is strictly wrong. And I will get a little more into the technical details of it, but this is something I'm asking you to trust the evidence of your eyes to say, hey, my banking app works and my shopping app works and nobody ever bothers them. Why is that? Because the technology is that good. And the only reason that you can't blockchain vote right now for any election is there's a whole lot of people that gain power over the process by controlling the election process. This is not some of the folks I was just talking about, where there's a lot of good people that are involved in this, right? So I don't want to say anything bad about the election monitors or the league or anything like that. They're good folks. But there's a whole lot of minor party functionaries that control which are the most likely votes to be counted and who's most likely to miss something. So if we made this whole selection seamless, and if we made it verifiable, the problem goes away and all of these minor party functionaries suddenly have no reason to be here and can no longer interfere with your votes. Guys, I am Mike Winkler. This is part 2 on the Why is Voting So Hard video series. Let me know your thoughts on this, because I got a lot of views in that first one, but I'm real interested in whether you want me to keep going through this thing or what your thoughts are on the directions I should take. Thanks a lot.